Hi everyone. We're ready to start. Now, I'm just gonna say Bitdefender probably is Romania's largest export product. At least that's what I think one of their ads says.
I have no idea about that, sorry.
Okay. And Anca's gonna talk to you about how to bring new products on the market. And I don't know if any of you has a market size like theirs, but I hope you wanna get there.
A market size like ours, where? Oh, on this planet, right. Hello, everyone. My name is Anca. I am part of the product marketing team at Bitdefender. And I'm glad that I'm here with you guys. Thank you for joining us today. So we are going to talk a little bit about how you can launch new product on the market. New products on the market. Thank you. And we are going to look at some stuff that happened, some in the past, like Apollo 11 getting on the moon, and one of the most interesting events in the past century, and the recent one, which is part of the Mars colonization plan. I guess that you've all seen that Tesla in space with the David Bowie playlist, right? You did? Yeah. Is anybody else passionate about this kind of stuff? Space? Or, yeah? No one? Did anyone wanted to be an astronaut when, yeah? No, just me? Or now? Yeah, you would, right? Yeah, okay. Let's see. So, first thing first, the thing is that launching a rocket in space might be easier than convincing people to adopt new technology or new products. Because usually you get a lot of resistance, and this happens because everything new, it breaks on our routine. And although we have a very positive attitude regarding the future, we are actually not that open to the future. For example, how many of you have stuff like New Year resolutions? Yeah. How many of you said that I'm going to go to the gym this year? Yeah. How many of you didn't go to the gym this year? Yeah. So we are very optimistic about our future, but we never do what we say. So you have to be very careful when you are launching a new product on the market and you're doing the research to ask the right questions, because you will always get positive feedback like, oh my God, this sounds so good. But you have to ask about the past behavior, because every new product is actually replacing an old product, an old behavior. So you have to look into the past behavior to make, I don't know, realistic predictions about the future. So ignore the fact that people are very, very optimistic about their future decisions. So, for example, if I would have an electric car company right now, I would probably get a lot of positive attitudes about this, but people are still driving the usual cars, right? I mean, how many of you have an electrical cars, are having an electrical car? It's expensive. You do? Okay. Oh, it's a toy. It's a toy. Yeah, right. Okay. So What about the self-driving cars? Aren't those cool? Isn't that some cool technology there? Innovation? How is that positioned? But why aren't people embracing those? It's because you're losing control, maybe? It's about security somehow, right? Because you put your life in the hands of a self-driving car. You know, it's some technology there, you have no control over it. And it's driving instead of yourself, which is a bit scary, right? So we are not ready to embrace this type of change right now. Okay. Let's see. Do you guys have any idea what this is? What that picture is? It's one of the most memorable events from the last century, as I was saying earlier. And please take in consideration that this happened in 1969, when getting television on the moon was a breakthrough thing. I mean, NASA went crazy when they heard, like, what? TV in space? Are you guys crazy? So this is color television getting in space for the first time, and probably the last time, right? And that's 1969. This was a marketing. This was a cool marketing campaign. It started in 1961, when Kennedy said something like, "Yep, we will be the first ones in the space, and this is going to be the biggest and the most costly effort we will ever do." And a lot of people worked on, marketing this idea. It was quite difficult to make it appealing to a large number of Americans. But what happened was that 8 years later, 94% of the Americans were watching TV, and they were watching this very moment. And they were all part of the story, because NASA was so good at doing this marketing campaign that each and every American felt like this is their moment, because it wasn't about NASA, it was about the US. This was a marketing campaign for the US, which is probably the best country, the best marketing campaign for a country itself, okay? Fast forward, this happened like a few weeks ago. So this crazy guy called Elon Musk did something very, very interesting. This stunt, he launched an electric car, Tesla, on a reusable rocket with 27 engines. He launched it in the orbit. So what does this thing mean? What do you think it's the message here? Did you guys have fun watching this? Did you think that it was disruptive? Yeah. What else? Any ideas? How did you felt about this?
Mind blown.
What?
Mind blown.
Mind blown. Wow, okay. Where are the... I don't know. What did he wanted to prove by doing this? I mean, okay, it's a cross-promo campaign, right? I mean, he is merging SpaceX and Tesla in the same stunt, which is great, but yeah, Mircea?
He wanted a new car.
Yeah, that too. But this is actually a very interesting message. It's about the aerospace industry, because it's a shift from this, where this campaign implied government and NASA, and this means that you know, a company, a private business, is sending the first object in space. And it wasn't NASA. I mean, this is how I looked at it. But I don't know, maybe you have other ideas about this.
Do you know how he got the money to build the rockets?
I mean, he launched like a gazillion of Falcon rockets in the past years.
Yeah, but how he got the money to build those?
I have no idea actually, but we can ask
He
him.
got a loan from U.S. government. So
No, it wasn't the government. I'm sure it wasn't, because he's in a competition with the government right now, and the government is building a rocket, which they say that it's better than this one, but it's not reusable, which would be like super cool when we will get to Mars. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm not sure that your information is correct, but maybe it is. Okay, any ideas about this? Do you feel that he tried to prove something else? Is this a war with the government? What it is?
Well, if you send a car into space, then all of a sudden electric cars seem a bit more down to earth to me. Like, you know, if the car's in space already, then maybe it's fine if it's on the street as well. So by pushing it even further, it made it somehow closer to me as a consumer.
Maybe it's time to embrace the electric car.
Maybe it's time to get an electric car.
Okay.
Maybe it's not
Not
so
bad.
out there.
Okay, we can think about
I think he tried to get people excited about the space race, that
Right.
he can go back to
Yeah.
space and explore.
He's building on the story, because his plan is to colonize Mars, and he needs to.
He used to hire engineers.
Yeah, that too. He needs a lot of money and a lot of people, but he needs to keep us engaged in this story, and he needs to do a lot of stuff like that to keep us interested. Okay, so the electric car is. We already said that it's not on the mass market, right? We all know that. Let's see why people are not embracing new technologies or new products. Well, first, there is this usage barrier. So when you are building a new product, you have to take in consideration the existing platforms. You have to decide on which platform are you going to launch this product. And of course, what habits people are already having, what workflows and so on. So that's like one of the steps. Of course, you have to take in consideration the value barrier. I mean, how many of you do have an electric toothbrush? Yep, look. So it's like 30% of you. This is like an innovative thing, right? It's on the market for a while, but it hasn't reached the mass market. This is one of the examples. But I'm sure you can think about many others. There are a lot of risks. People are afraid to change their products because they are afraid of buggy new products. I mean, we all know that when someone gets an update on the market, it will probably slow down my device or something bad will happen. I mean, Apple does that a lot, right? There's also the tradition barrier. Does your mom use Tinder? You are really scared about this idea, right? Mine is not using Tinder. I'm kidding. So when the online dating appeared, people were like, "Oh, damn it! It's like, should I do that? No, I shouldn't." And I don't know. I had a lot of friends who went on Tinder, and everyone else was like, "That is like, ooh, yeah. No, let's not do that. Let's do the traditional way of dating." I mean, like, you know, and you have to take in consideration the tradition also. And depending on the market you're going, you have to take in consideration this. If you're going to a more traditionalist market, or if you're going in Asia or Saudi Arabia or something like that with your product, you have to take in consideration all the specific traditions there and to see if that is a proper market or not. Okay, what else? The image barrier. Let's say that our competitor Kaspersky had some image barrier last year in the US because of, you know, some issues with the FBI. I mean, it's not something you want in, as a product marketing manager and as a CEO or whatever you want. So they had some really big troubles there. They are not selling their products in one of the largest networks there in Best Buy. And this image barrier, of course, created a lot of other problems for them in other countries too. And who wants to associate its image with Kaspersky right now? Not many companies, right? So you have to be very careful in case you want to, you know, go with some partnerships or something like that. You have to take in consideration this risk. I mean, if I was using Kaspersky, if I were using Kaspersky last year, then I would probably drop the product or something like that because of these image issues. These are all customer barriers. There are a lot of other barriers like the corporate ones, but I'm not going to go into details with those ones. Those ones are more specific when you already, you know, grow your product and you became like a big company or something like that. Okay. Yeah, you need to help me because this is not working anymore. Right. So surprisingly, when launching a new product, the launch is just not only about the product. Many people forget this, like, number one rule, because they are focusing a lot on developing the product. What you should do, you should start early the go-to-market process. You should start early defining your segments and thinking on how you are going to market that product. And of course, there are a lot of mandatory things, if you want, that you should follow this. You really need an up-to-date positioning document. You need to know who is your competition, and you have to be very, very careful with that, because sometimes the competition is not what you think about, and you will be surprised to discover who your customers think that your competition is. And you can find this, of course, from your customer support if you want. Yeah, really. True story. Of course, you should follow some revenue and business KPIs, because it's part of your it should be part of your life. I mean, you should know where you're going, what's your target and stuff like that. And if you're on the marketing roadmap, if you want to say it like that. And of course, you should know where your customers are coming from. This is also interesting. You can see if people are switching from which products, and you know, try to position yourself as being better than the others, or try to attack those pain points, because you can find out why a bunch of users switched from a product to yours. So you can tackle those into your positioning or product communication.
There was the up-to-date positioning document. Is containing the things below on this slide, or is something else
It's. Can you repeat it?
Up-to-date positioning document. What's the content of it?
Okay, so positioning is including the buyer persona also, but it also includes a description of your product, description of your product benefits, differentiators, your communication pillars, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very useful for the Marcom campaigns, the Marcom teams. Sorry. Okay. So launching new products again is not about technology or about innovation. Maybe you have some amazing product or some amazing new technology, but it's not about that. If your technology is not resolving a problem, then it's not something that will be sellable. I mean, do you guys know the story about the space pen? Because we are in this space area. Anyone? Space pen. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's a myth, but some say that NASA invested like $1 million in R&D for this space pen. Is the one right here. But you know, the real question is, was there a need for a space pen? Well, now that we are probably going to colonize Mars, it's probably going to be a real need for that pen. But like 30 years ago, nobody actually needed that. They are pretty good on sales. I mean, it's an interesting pen, and I want one too. But there's not a real need on the market right here on Earth, because we can use any pen we want, and we don't need to write with it in space yet. Okay. And also, by the way, your smartphones are so much powerful than the technology used in '69 to launch Apollo on the moon, which is amazing. I mean, again, it's not about technology. The computer used back then, it doesn't mean it's technology. It's useless today. So it's not about the technology. It's not about the innovation. It's about the story behind it. It's about the problem it solves. It's about how you create the need and how you make it appealing. Okay, so let's see what marketing from the past can teach us today. Well, you should be bold. I mean, you should have a higher scope than, getting a small product on the market. You should find a goal, a bigger goal, and don't think local. I mean, I wish I could see more products developed globally, because, for example, it was, what's his name? Yeah, Theo. He was earlier talking here about his product, and he found a real interesting niche there. And he is now expanding to Canada and UK. That's pretty cool. But it felt that in the beginning he never thought about selling his product outside Romania. And he was like, yeah, and I developed this product. It was my fifth. And you should think about yourself as creators. because you are. And if you have the courage to build a product, that's something. I don't. And you should be proud of yourself for doing this and go further than, selling products in Cluj. Also, you should never forget that perception is reality. And in marketing, we always work with perceptions. It's not about what we think about our product. Experts usually have this distortion. We all do in marketing and in product and in development. We think some things about our product, but we forget to look on the market and to see what people really think about us, because it's usually a different point of view and they feel different about our product than we think so. So you should always check what the perception is. And you should always know that when you're running marketing research, once again, you are working with perceptions. And some perceptions cannot be changed. You have to decide with what to work. You have to make some choices there. Also, you should avoid stagnation. I mean, you have this new product, you launch it, and you should think, I don't know, on a 3 years or 5 years plan. You should start thinking about new markets or I don't know, complementary products. You should think about the whole product. For example, if you offer me a pickup, I will need the vinyls, right? And so on, and a lot of other stuff that go with it. So you should think on how to develop your product in that area, to offer new services or complementary stuff that could go with it, extensions somehow. And of course, you should manipulate the publishers, just like Elon Musk does. He has zero marketing budget, and he is very good at making all kinds of stories. He failed a lot, but he doesn't care, because he's always on the news. He says something or does something, and he make it there. The cost for the exposure he had a couple of weeks ago, it would be probably millions. I mean, getting in all the media and having all those visualizations on YouTube, that costs a lot. So you have to be smart and to manipulate, and that's not a wrong thing, okay? Let's make it clear. You should start to think differently, not only press releases and boring stuff. I mean, find something smart about your product and try to sell it. Partnerships are always welcome. We avoided in Bitdefender a lot of times to this kind of partnerships because we prefer to develop stuff in-house and work a lot on stuff that others were already doing, and they were doing it greatly, but we were so proud and so smart, and we wanted to do those things ourselves. But we learned the lessons, and now we are doing this kind of partnerships, and it proves that, of course, the integration is a challenge sometimes, but it's a winning strategy sometimes. Just, be careful with who you are partnering with. And of course, resistance. This is like one of the biggest challenges when you're launching a new product, because although you think this is a super new product and it's like, and maybe it has no competition, nobody does the same thing you are doing, you actually always have some kind of competition. People are already using some kind of a product, doing at least a part of what you're doing, or this is their perception, that they have to change something to get you on their priority list or in their shopping cart, shopping cart. Okay, I think that this is it. If you have questions.
I have a question. How much market research do you do, or marketing research do you do when you launch a product?
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you repeat?
No, just if you can tell us a bit about.
Well, we work with Nielsen and and Gartner and agencies like these ones externally. We have a pretty big business intelligence department. It's like a 6-person department. We have 2 communities with Bitdefender users and competition users, and yeah, it's pretty cool, and it gave us a lot of insights. We have super cool segmentation right now, because in the past couple of years we've invested a lot of efforts into research, and we know a lot of stuff about the competition, about the perception about the competition and stuff like that. And this is how we discovered new channels and new insights on, I don't know, about the tone of voice and stuff like that. It's very interesting, and it helps a lot on the product marketing side.
And what would you recommend to a startup, like a software startup? What type of marketing research would you recommend for them to do? What type of research would we do?
Oh boy. I don't know. I have to think about this. I haven't worked with startups yet. I mean, I have friends having those startups, but
What do they do?
I'm going to tell you in the break.
One question, you define what account resistance. You are a company, now you have a marketing budget, you are going to the market, focusing on a channel. How do you know that it's not working, and how much time does it take for you to change?
Okay. Well, that's not necessarily resistance, but if I'm I mean, our Marcom teams are implementing all kind of campaigns. We have like tons of those, and they are monitoring, the conversion on every channel. But the resistance for the type of product we are offering is lower. I mean, it's probably non-existent because it's the traditional security, what we call an antivirus. We had this experience with resistance for our IoT security product, which is Bitdefender Box. And yeah, and it is a challenge now, even today. How do you know that a channel is not delivering? Well, that's pretty easy. You look into how much you've invested and you see.
And how fast do you react? In terms of days, weeks, months,
Well, we usually let the campaign run for like a month to make a decision about that. But we can see the signs, in the first 2 weeks, and if it's like really, really bad, then we stop it. Yeah. Yep.
What are for Bitdefender, which are the main acquisition channels?
I don't have ownership on these channels, but we use a lot of programmatic. What else? We use specialized media like PC Mag and Tom's Guide and these kind of publishers. Mashable, but we don't always have the budgets for Mashable actually. Yeah, it's pretty expensive, that's the truth. And it's not delivering as good as PC Mag, for example, with whom we have a really long-term partnership. I don't know. There are and affiliates, of course. This channel is also delivering great results. And also in search, we have a good presence, and of course, it's going well. Yeah. Yep.
About overcoming resistance, you mentioned the Bitdefender box
Yeah.
and IoT.
Yeah.
Is that something? Have you overcame? Did you overcome it, or are you working at that?
I think the whole market is working on it. That's true, because as I was saying, we are working with perceptions, and people don't realize that they live in a smart home. I mean, I have like a smartwatch, a gaming console, and a smart fridge, but that doesn't mean that I live in a what did I say? I said, okay, and this, thank you, and this doesn't mean that I live in a smart home. So the fact that he's having like 10 smart devices on a household, it's a good information for us, but the fact that his perception is that he's not living in a smart home, it's like another story. So if I'm telling you, hey, you have like 5 smart devices, this and this and that, and you should cover them because they are not covered by your, the security is not built in your smart fridge, you know, he just wouldn't give a damn. So, you know. Some of our competition tackled a little bit different this perception issue. They positioned their IoT security as a router with security for IoT. Because, you know, router is something we all know what it is. And it's interesting, but in the same time, I don't think that this is the best decision. Okay, when you talking about position, what I would do, yeah, well, the market already decided. I mean, they don't have a better adoption versus our product, so because it's pretty hard in the US. I mean, in the US, it happens here too. Actually, you have a router from your ISP provider, and replacing that router can be a pain in the ass. I mean, it's like not the easiest thing to do. Yeah.
How would you recover on market after an image damage? I guess you can just plan for it.
No, I don't.
Kaspersky, for example.
I have no idea, actually. They had problems in France also. There are voices there are pros and cons against Kaspersky. There are a lot of Kaspersky users saying that they are not going to drop their product because this is I don't know, a government war, and
yeah, but most of them are. I was curious about your
we've seen a drop in Kaspersky because we can see that from our market research, and we know that there are much more users dropping Kaspersky than before, but I don't know how big the damage is. And yeah, I'm not sure. I cannot measure yet. I mean, like, and this is actually affecting us, sorry, because we are in the same region, and you know, extending the issue with Kaspersky, you can think on the entire region that, I don't know, we do bad stuff. Yeah, please.
How you answer my question? I was just curious.
Yeah.
If this issue with Kaspersky, if you managed to track, like,
yeah, we did. We did.
And did you discover other competitors that managed to? I mean,
everyone went with anti-Kaspersky campaigns in the US because you are allowed there to do campaigns against your competition. You can say their name and say that they are stupid, but not really, but, you know. We tried something, but not very aggressive, and you know, because it was already full of competitors saying, drop Kaspersky, get I don't know, Norton, 50% off. Everyone dropped their pants and said, hey, buy us. It's like, it wasn't very elegant, and but we gained with, you know, less discounts and more technology and benefits from Kaspersky. So it was a good thing for us. Yeah. What can I say? What else? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.